Personal Experiences of Living with Borderline Personality Disorder, BPD, Real Life Stories and Testimonials. Living with Borderline Personality Disorder, BPD, can be a deeply challenging experience, both for those who have the disorder and for those close to them. Individuals with BPD often experience intense emotional turmoil, interpersonal struggles, and a pervasive fear of abandonment. However, through personal stories and testimonials, we can gain a deeper understanding of the lived experience of BPD, its impact on relationships, self-worth, and daily life, and the ways in which individuals navigate these challenges. In this episode of the Borderline Personality Disorder, BPD, podcast, we will hear real-life stories from individuals who live with BPD. Their experiences highlight the complexity of the disorder, the highs and lows of daily life, and the steps they have taken toward healing and managing their symptoms. We will also explore the importance of self-awareness, therapy, and support systems in creating a path toward emotional stability and fulfillment. 1. Sarah's story, the struggle with emotional intensity and relationship instability. Sarah, a 28-year-old woman, describes her life with BPD as a constant emotional roller coaster. 1 minute, I feel like I'm on top of the world, and the next, I'm sinking into this dark pit of sadness and hopelessness, she says. It's hard to explain to people who don't get it, but the emotions are so intense that they feel all-consuming. I can go from being overly happy to crying uncontrollably in seconds. Sarah's struggle with relationship instability has been a recurring theme throughout her life. I've had friendships and romantic relationships where I feel desperately attached to the person, almost obsessively so. The idea of being rejected or abandoned terrifies me, and sometimes, I end up pushing people away before they can leave me, she shares. I don't want to be like that, but I can't control it. It's like I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it makes it hard to trust anyone. Despite the emotional challenges, Sarah has made progress with the help of therapy. DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, has been a game changer for me, she says. It helps me understand my emotions better and gives me tools to manage impulsive behaviors and reduce self-destructive thoughts. It's not a cure, but it gives me a way to function without constantly feeling overwhelmed. 2. Jake's story, the impact of BPD on self-image and identity. Jake, a 35-year-old man, recounts his struggle with identity disturbance and self-worth. I never knew who I was or what I wanted out of life. I've had moments where I felt like I was someone completely different, depending on who I was around, Jake reflects. I would look in the mirror and wonder, who is this person? It's like I couldn't find any solid ground in my own sense of self. This confusion around identity led to significant emotional pain, as Jake would often place his value in external validation. I used to rely on other people's approval to feel good about myself. If someone complimented me, I'd feel amazing, but if they criticized me, it would destroy me. I was constantly fluctuating between feeling like I was the best and feeling like I was a failure, he explains. Jake credits much of his healing to his consistent involvement in therapy and self-reflection. Learning about BPD and understanding how it affects my identity has been huge for me. I've been able to start building a healthier sense of self, and it's still a work in progress. I'm starting to accept that my identity doesn't have to depend on other people's opinions of me. Jake also emphasizes the importance of supportive relationships. Having friends and family who understand and accept me has been vital. They've given me the space to grow and make mistakes without judging me. It's made me feel like I'm worth something, and that's been crucial in rebuilding my sense of self-worth. 3. Maria's story, fear of abandonment and the journey to healing. Maria, a 24-year-old woman, describes her overwhelming fear of abandonment and how it has shaped her relationships. The fear of being left alone is probably the hardest part of BPD for me. I've lost friends and partners because of it, Maria explains. When someone I care about doesn't text me back or cancels plans, I panic. I start thinking that they don't want me around anymore, and I spiral into these dark thoughts where I feel completely worthless. Maria's clinginess and neediness led to frequent emotional outbursts, which only served to push people further away. It was like I was trying to keep people close, but the harder I tried, the more they pulled away. I was caught in this toxic cycle of self-sabotage, she reflects. Despite the struggles, Maria has found hope through therapy and self-awareness. I started DBT and began practicing mindfulness, which has helped me stay grounded when I start feeling triggered. I still struggle with the fear of abandonment, but now I have the tools to pause and breathe before jumping to conclusions. Therapy has given me hope that I can manage my emotions and have healthier relationships. Maria also highlights the importance of self-compassion. I've learned to be kinder to myself. Instead of beating myself up for my fears, I try to acknowledge them and understand that they don't define me. I'm a work in progress, but every day is a step toward healing. 4. Tom's story, the role of self-harm and the struggle for control. Tom, a 30-year-old man, shares his experience with self-harm as a way of managing emotional pain. For a long time, I didn't know how to cope with the intensity of my feelings. When I felt overwhelmed, self-harm was the only way I could release that pressure, Tom admits. It was like I needed to hurt myself to feel something, anything other than the emptiness I felt inside. Tom's self-destructive behaviors were tied to deep feelings of worthlessness and uncontrollable emotions. I would think that if I hurt myself, at least I could control something in my life. It was my way of feeling powerful when everything else felt out of control. It wasn't until Tom entered therapy and began addressing the root causes of his self-harm that he began to make lasting changes. Therapy helped me understand that my need to self-harm wasn't about the pain, it was about trying to manage emotions I didn't know how to handle. I started practicing mindfulness and grounding techniques to manage emotional distress, and it's been incredibly helpful. Tom also stresses the importance of community in his healing process. Finding people who understand what I'm going through has been key. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone in this struggle. Therapy and support groups have given me a sense of belonging that I didn't have before. 5. Jessica's story, rebuilding trust and relationships. Jessica, a 29-year-old woman, discusses how BPD has affected her ability to trust others, particularly in romantic relationships. I have a hard time trusting people, even though I desperately want to. I'm always waiting for the other person to let me down or abandon me, she shares. This has made it hard for me to stay in relationships. I either push people away before they leave me, or I become so dependent on them that it's suffocating. Jessica has spent much of her life in relationships that were emotionally unhealthy or unbalanced. I would either cling to someone and lose myself in the process or shut them out completely to avoid being hurt, she explains. Over time, Jessica has made progress in managing her fears and rebuilding trust. It took a lot of work to understand my attachment issues and learn how to trust again. I've been practicing healthy communication and setting boundaries in my relationships, which has been a big shift for me, she says. The more I work on trusting myself and accepting my emotions, the more I feel capable of building stable, loving relationships. Conclusion. The personal stories shared by Sarah, Jake, Maria, Tom, and Jessica highlight the emotional struggles, relational challenges, and journey toward healing that individuals with borderline personality disorder, BPD, often face. While BPD can feel overwhelming and isolating, therapy, self-awareness, and support systems play a crucial role in managing symptoms and building healthier relationships. These stories also demonstrate that healing is possible and that individuals with BPD can work toward emotional stability, self-compassion, and fulfilling connections. Each person's experience with BPD is unique, but many share common themes of emotional intensity, fear of abandonment, and struggles with identity and self-worth. By sharing these real-life stories, we can promote greater understanding and reduce the stigma surrounding BPD, offering hope to others who may be navigating similar challenges. In future episodes, we will continue to explore the lived experiences of individuals with borderline personality disorder and the strategies that have helped them in their healing journey. Stay tuned for more insights and testimonials about life with BPD.